Hello, Spartan fans, and welcome to another edition of the Spartan Sideline Report here on NSUSpartans.com. I'm Ross Gordon, the play-by-play voice of the Spartans, joined by Assistant Sports Information Director Mike Bello. We'll be joined also shortly by men's track and field head coach Kenny Giles and junior sprinter James Taylor. We mentioned James Taylor. He was named a All-American, second-team All-American. He finished 10th in the 200 indoors as the Spartans again won the indoor championship. They're 8th in a row in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. And again, just another dominant performance by the team.
Absolutely. We got the trophy right here. It's almost kind of like when you're a kid and you get a trophy just for participating. I mean, they're starting to collect these trophies like they're candy. You know, it's just one after the other. Pretty soon, me and you are each going to get one to take home.
I already have one in my house.
Okay. Well, I need the next one, and I get the next one. So, I mean, the Spartans, they've just been dominant. It keeps going, and he just keeps reloading. You know, you lose a player like last year, they lost Sean Holston. James Taylor just steps right in, and he takes over for Sean. You got that next All-American right there.
Well, it wasn't like James Taylor went anywhere. He was there last year. Again, he won the 60 indoors, and you saw his progression. Got injured the year before, and we were like, who's this James Tayller guy? And he's going to make a splash. Coach Giles always makes sure he lets everybody know, I got a guy, man. I got a guy. He's going to be good. And he pumped us up about this James Taylor guy. Got hurt, so we didn't get a chance to see him. Last year, he was on display, and he really showed how good he was.
Yeah, you know, he got, like I said, he got hurt. He missed that outdoor season a couple years ago. So, and he had a decorated high school career, so everyone was expecting a lot out of him. And that can take a toll on someone, you know, when people are expecting a lot out of you. But, you know, like I said, he stepped right in. Once he got injury-free, he showed what he could do, and he showed he could be a dominant force in the MEAC.
Also, Nathaniel Messerit also had a solid indoor performance. He was named the indoor track and field performer of the meet. Again, just deep team. Sprinters, when it comes to sprinters, when it comes to distance runners, had a solid effort in the field as well. When you win these championships, you have to have a complete performance.
Yeah, and you know, they've won cross country so many years in a row. They didn't win it this year, they finished second, but they had won like 4 in a row and like 11 of the last 12 or something like that before that. So obviously they have the good distance runners, so you know what, at the MEAC championship, you know, the indoor and outdoor, they're going to score points for you. So once you start adding up the points from the sprinters, we've always had good jumpers here too, long jumpers and, you know, high jumpers, and you add a little bit of from the throws too. They did well in the throws this year. I mean, it all adds up to a great team performance, and you're going to easily win.
By default, he was named the coach of the most outstanding coach of the tournament, because that's who they give it to, the people who win. Coach Kenny Giles, you have a lot of those trophies as well. Congratulations first on the 2013 indoor championship. And second of all, I think it gets difficult every year to try to repeat, because teams start to get a little better, start to reload a little bit. Talk a little about how you've really gotten to a point where it doesn't really matter what anybody else does. We really keep things going in the right direction.
Well, you know, first of all, thanks for having me here. And, you know, I'm not going to say it doesn't get easy, because we always have a target that's on our back, you know, as defending champs and, you know, year in and year out. But I think what it's become the expectation of this program, you know, is either a championship or failure. It's kind of sad to say, but, you know, that's what the kids expect. That's what the alumni expect, the former student athletes and everybody. So, you know, we have to live up to those expectations. And, you know, fortunately we have.
When people, you know, when you talk to people, I'm sure they think that it's just a guarantee that you're going to win the MEAC. What do you tell them, you know, when they say that it's, you know, it's not a guarantee, that it takes a lot of hard work to really get to that? You know, it's not like you just coasting to these MEAC championships. It takes a lot of hard work leading up to it to win them every year.
Yeah, it takes a lot of hard work academically, because first of all, you know, the kids have to stay eligible. If they can't be eligible, they can't go out there and showcase their talent. Then, you know, they work very hard and diligently from August up until the start of the indoor season. And, you know, then from indoor, we carry on right until we progress right into outdoor. So, you know, it's a lot of work that they put in throughout the whole season. And it's not a guarantee. So when people think that, well, track is going to win, we don't take it for granted. We don't take it for granted. We want to go out there. We want to perform at the highest level, and we want to, you know, excel at what we do.
You talk about what it takes to be a champion in this conference, and especially when people are good in certain areas but not great in certain areas. They have a couple people who can score here, score there. It's very difficult to make sure that you get the points that you need to win. How do you get to a place where you say, well, I know what I have here, I need to get a little bit more here? And if you know you're slacking here, how do you get the best out of your performance?
Well, a lot of it has to be attributed to the student athletes because, they listen to the coaching staff. We have an outstanding coaching staff. And I communicate well with the student athletes and the coaches, and we look at them throughout the whole season, and we say which event can we put these kids in, and they're going to excel. You take someone like James Taylor. He could have run. He ran the 60 and the 200 at the conference championships and ran the 200 at the national championships, but he could have easily ran the 400 meters, at the conference championships and the national championships. So, we just, we evaluate the talent and we train them accordingly, and it works out for us.
We bring in now the just mentioned James Taylor from Suffolk, Virginia. It was funny because I've done the track meets here at Norfolk State now for a long time, since they started back up again.
Yes.
And I think one of the first ones I did, James Taylor was running the 400. And you're like, we're getting this guy. He's going to be good. And we saw you run the 400, and you almost died when you came across the finish line here at Norfolk State. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I was like, this guy's going to be good. Talk a little about your progression as a young man from Suffolk's high schools, Nansemond River to Norfolk State, and how that's been not only on the track and off the track.
Well, it's been a difficult time, I can say. My progression has been a progression. Starting off, I was in the band. I had no passion for track. I really didn't want to do track. And it was something that my high school coach just kept coming up to me saying, you should come out for track. I've seen you run around with the band and it looks like you would be good. So I was like, okay, coach, I'll come out. I never came out. So then I think it was my sophomore year, my coach was like, you should really come out, just keep coming out. He was persistent. He stayed on me, just keep coming. I was like, okay, cool. So I just came out there and started running. I was like, okay, well, I think I like this. So I started running. I got familiar with what I could do and what I didn't like. And I started focusing more so on the sprints. So, we went to the championships. I would place. We went to the state championship my first year and I placed 10th. So I was like, well, I guess I'll stay at it. So after that, I just trained. I went to my first camp. It was called Real Deal, and that's like a summer school for track and field. And that's where I really learned the fundamentals and like the basis of what track and field really was and really got introduced to it. So therefore, after then, I just started running. I was like, okay, I like this, and then I started winning. So I think it was my junior year I won states. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep at this. So I went to Real Deal again the next summer. And then when I came back my junior year, that's when I won Penn Relays and I started winning state championships. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can really be good at this. So I continued. My senior year was like the best track and field experience I've ever had. I won 4 state titles at one track meet that had never been done before in Virginia High School League history. And then after that, I just started, like, okay, I'm going to stay at this, keep going, and just, keep God first, as always. And then was introduced to this man right here and got to college. It was kind of bumpy at first because, as he said, academically, you have to be fit, and I wasn't. So that was one area that I wasn't really focusing on because I was so overwhelmed with track and my progression. I was like, well, I don't really need to do anything else. But I slowly found out that if you're not academically sound, then you can't perform. And track has became my passion over the time. So he introduced me to that as well. So I just stayed at my academics, and it's been rough with injuries and just little minor things that can really be a big career downer. So I just stayed at it, just stayed persistent, and just kept God first and just headstrong with it, and I've been successful. So I don't regret anything that happened because everything that was put in my life was for a reason, and you overcome those barriers to get stronger. So with that said, I'm glad that everything happened how it happened. I'm glad that I'm in the position that I'm in, and I'm very, very fortunate to be the athlete that I am, and I'm still learning, and that's the beauty of it right there. Because once you get into these things and you see that, okay, I still have room to learn, that means you still have room to get better, and that's where I see myself.
You were very decorated, like you said, the high school career. You had a lot of big schools chasing you. Obviously, the academic part kind of hurt. You have to be able to, if you have to have don't have the academics, you can't get into the schools. How did you was that kind of a humbling experience, and how did you stay humble when all this attention is on you coming out of high school and everything like that?
Well, I can say my mother. She just really kept me grounded on the situation and not knowing. I kind of liked the fact of I was in a position of not knowing about bigger colleges. I really didn't know about the SAT. I didn't know that you needed these scores to get into college. So the big schools was really like, okay. I never really looked at them, and all I knew was Norfolk State, and it was kind of amazing. I was laying in my bed. I remember I was laying in my bed one night, and I was like, I just don't want to go anywhere else. I had no thought of having any visits anywhere. I didn't have any like drive to go anywhere else. I always was focused on Norfolk State, and I say that was God, because I mean, the type of athlete that I was, any other athlete would have went to another school. They would have took their visits. They would have seen how it was on the other side. But I just wanted to come to Norfolk State. Whether I had any issues coming in, I knew I would get over them, because my life has been like that. You're set with issues, you're set with problems, and you measure yourself and your success of how you get over them. So I was like, I mean, it's just another thing to me. I just get in here and do what I have to do and learn what I have to do and become good at it. And that's what I feel like I'm still progressively doing, trying to master that. I mean, I've came this far, and I understand what I have to do, but I know that there's other areas that I have to get better in, and I'm just thankful for that. So,
James, again, you mentioned at first you were all about the band in high school. You were a drum major in Nansemond River High School's
Yes,
marching
sir.
band, if I'm not mistaken. But you also marched in Norfolk State's band as I don't know, as Spartan Guard. I
Yes.
believe they call them Spartan Guard. You also were Mr. NSU back a time ago. You also are Mr. NSU even if you don't have the crown, because everybody knows you. Everybody sees you and says, hey, that's James. Talk a little about how you have adjusted to college life, because it seems like not only are you solid on the track, but you do well outside of the track and field area.
yes, sir. Coming in, I just had the attitude of I'm not going to be a cheap product. I came in and I knew that I was ineligible, but that didn't stop me from doing anything on campus. So I met a couple people on campus. Shayla Schaefer, the SGA president at the time when I came in, and she introduced me to a lot of activities that were on campus. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll get familiar with that, because I mean, I'm not doing track, so I might as well, take advantage of the on-campus opportunities and experiences that I can, because some athletes don't have that. So I was thinking, well, I am ineligible, and that's a bad thing, but how can I turn this into a good thing for myself? So I just started talking to a couple of people, connecting with the SGA president, like I just stated, and a couple of other people, the Mr. NSU at the time, and he was telling me, well, you should try the Mr. NSU or get into things that can prepare you for the Mr. NSU pageant. So my freshman year, I was introduced to an organization on campus, Sigma Gamma Rho, and they were looking for a Mr. That was their first. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll try that. So I got into that, and I was fortunate enough that I won Mr. Sigma Gamma Rho. I was their Mr. for that year, and after that, it's like things just started falling into place. I started meeting more people. I got more popular on campus. Professors knew me more. So I was like, okay, well, either way, on both sides, it's working out. I know that I'm a fast runner. And academically, I'm starting to hang around people who are more academically sound, so I'm starting to be more of who I hang around. And it's like, okay, it was a bad thing, but it's a good thing as well, because you want to be a well-rounded type of student athlete, I feel like. And I don't feel like just because you're a student athlete that you have to be limited to the experiences that you can have on campus. So why not take advantage of what you have at that time? I mean, I wasn't eligible, but I wasn't ineligible as far as being on campus in school. So why not enjoy it? And that was my attitude at that time. Like, I'm not going to just sit here and just soak in my misery. I mean, I know I'm good. I can always come back and train. I have my coach here. He kept me feeling well about this. Like, everything's going to be okay. All you have to do is do what you have to do on your part, and I can control that, So I just stayed at it and balanced it, and I just continued to get into things. The Mr. NSU pageant, I was also sophomore class president my sophomore year, and working with that was amazing. Like, you meet the provost, you meet the president of the university. I mean, it's so many opportunities and so many people that you can meet. And when they found out that you're a student athlete as well, it's like icing on the cake. So I just took advantage of every opportunity, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me, because I knew at the end of the day I would be able to run.
He would be able to run, and he did run, Coach Giles, and he has run pretty fast. And one thing we always say, you can't really coach fast. You either got it or you don't. Talk a little about how he's grown as a student athlete.
Well, one thing about James is that James always had it. Speed is just like height in basketball. As Coach Evans, you can't coach 7 feet. It's just like you can't coach speed. He was blessed with a lot of amazing speed. He's worked very diligently and hard at getting to where he is right now, being a second-team NCAA All-American, going to the NCAA championships, which is the pinnacle of any student athlete's career. He's worked very, very hard at that. And he hasn't let us down. And as we progress into the outdoor season and further along in his career, he's going to continue to get better at what he does. And we have a lot of expectations for him.
And speaking of expectations, another one of those hopefully will be in somebody's office in May as the team prepares for the outdoor championship. The Spartans begin their outdoor season this weekend at the Shamrock Invitational in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Don't forget to join the Spartans on Saturday, April 13th, as they will host the NSU Relays all day here at Dick Price Stadium on campus. Be sure to keep up with all of the news surrounding the NSU Athletics Department by logging on to the web at www.nsuspartans.com. We would like to thank the NSU Department of Video and Media Production, Coach Giles and James, for their help here today. For Mike Bello, I'm Ross Gordon. Thank you for watching NSUSpartans.com and the Spartan Sideline Report.